And we're live once again here from Austin, Texas, the land of 3 zeros, to continue here with the World Championship Series for StarCraft 2. We have one more quarterfinal to go. The real question is, will the losing player pick up a map, or maybe for the first time in this tournament, 2 maps? I'm Nathanius, your host, joined by Rotterdam and Pig. Gentlemen, it's been a brutal 3 days here so far. We have one more match to determine our semifinalists, and Terran versus Zerg, 2 really good players. Is this where things finally change?
It's got to be, right? I mean, this is the one where it's like, I mean, we keep thinking like that last one. I was like,
giving you the glare now.
I was like, this is where it turns around, man. It's going to be 3-2. I think it has to be a close match. It's Elazer and SpeCial. They're both so good. I feel like they're kind of like the second and third favorites behind SpeCial going into this event. You know, it's a big match between the two of them. They've both been training in Korea. SpeCial forever at this point. Elazer for quite a few months. So I feel like this is just going to be where the action heats up, and I'm so used to seeing 3 zeros at this point. I feel almost like I'm dreaming. I think this is where things are going to be a lot closer.
The funny thing about a lot of those 3 zeros, though, Nate, is that they are not even necessarily the 3 zeros that we would predict. I think things got very boring if everything that you know predicts actually goes 3-0 in the way you do. But Mana 3-0ing Snoot here in the quarterfinals after we haven't seen Mana have such a deep running forever. That's shocking. Lambo, who lost 15 series in a row against Nurcho, then 3 zeros. Nurcho, like, yeah, those are 3-0s, but those are not the 3-0s that people would normally predict. So I still think things are fun, but I'm going to go with Pig here, and Jeff can make all the fun of us that he wants. This one, Nate, this one is going to go to distance.
I mean, he was making those hand gestures like he had the time stone or something. He said he crunched an infinite amount of numbers and that there's actually no realities where this doesn't go 3-0. So let's see if we can defy InControl's reality. It's Terran versus Zerg, though. We've talked about how the Zerg have kind of swarmed over this tournament, but Mana has been purifying, as it were. It's Elazer versus SpeCial. And SpeCial is the player that we've talked about. He's been the one to carry the Terran torch outside of Korea basically forever. He's been that guy since we've seen players, I guess, like Thorzane and QXC kind of dip out of the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, he's really come into his own and become that just top foreign Terran in so many situations. And personally, I'm not looking for him to carry the Terran torch. I want to see someone carry the Marauder torch. We're like, oh my gosh, the Marauder does more damage now, especially as the upgrades get higher and higher. You know, you keep seeing the Marauder damage is just bigger than it used to be, and especially in this matchup, there used to be such a strong power point. We'd see players like Elazer especially rely on Hydra Baneling. They'd get out Vipers and Ultralisks, and they'd kind of barely survive the Terran mid-game push, and suddenly they'd say, hey, I've got these Ultras out with chitinous plating. I am unstoppable. You can't keep up. Suddenly, Marauders can keep up with that. Yeah, you still want to add in Liberators and tanks and this sort of stuff, but the Vipers aren't such a big counter to the Terran mid-game because Marauders are much stronger backbone as those first couple of Ultras spill out.
Yeah, there's a lot more you can do with that composition. You can also go for the ghosts and whatnot, which we know that SpeCial can do, Rotterdam. SpeCial is one of those few players when we make that comparison for him being like a Korean Terran. It's also because they can play that late game out so well, hit the multi-prong drop harass, and get those steady targeting shots off that can pick off those Ultralisks. Yeah,
I think if you look at a best of 5 like this, you're expecting Elazer to come out strong, swinging in early game every now and then, because he has cheeky builds up his sleeve. Mid game especially, those quick max outs, those good engagements. That's where Elazer shines. But I don't think that Elazer wants to play those 5+ base scenarios in SpeCial, because SpeCial is incredibly good at it. I do think one of the main reasons why Elazer went to Korea in the first place was to specifically work on his Zerg versus Terran. He said there simply aren't enough good Terrans in Europe to truly prepare me for when I go up against a scary Terran on a big stage. Let's see if all that practice paid off.
And now it is time to find out he does have that big scary Terran to go up against. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on to the main stage SpeCial and Elazer. Smix, are you ready to get our last Terran hope out here?
I am ready. I'm so excited. I think this could actually be the best quarterfinal match of the day, as these 2 players were both BlizzCon semifinalists. So without further ado, please welcome up on stage. It is SpeCial and Elazer.
This Terran versus Zerg looking to get potentially our closest match here. It has been a lot of sweeps. The players that have been getting the momentum have been making it work. Elazer was the only player other than Neeb to pick up a WCS circuit title last year. Of course, things have been shaken up by Serral, but he wants to get that repeat performance. And SpeCial, he's the player that we constantly talk about, where we know that he's good. We've seen him do very well, but the big W in the foreign scene, he's still yet to grab it.
Yeah, you know, he's had some famous showdowns with Neeb last year. He's had some big run-ins with all of the best players. And there's so many kind of 2-win, 3 losses. And it's funny because it kind of reminds me of SpeCial 3-4 years ago in like WCS America, where he'd always face off against like Polt or someone, and he'd like beat them in the first series.
We'd always look
play the
silly,
rematch,
hyping him up. We're like, yeah, he beat Tasia.
So
then he
many
rematches. Tasia smashes him. Yeah, but that's the thing, is he has that potential, Roddy, and it makes him such a fun player to cheer for, but at the same time stressful.
I also think that this is his opportunity to finally even make it to a final. We talk about championships, but even though SpeCial was the Terran of the WCS circuit in 2017, not a single final appearance. A lot of deep runs, obviously quarterfinals, semifinals.
At Neeb.
Even at BlizzCon, he made it to the semifinals, and obviously these two had a very historic clash in the quarterfinals. I think Jeff brought up that story yesterday. It was really fun when we did the group drawing, and both of them were like, yes, I play SpeCial, yes, I play Elazer. And we're looking at it like, why are you both happy? They're like, we're both gonna win, you know. And in the end, obviously SpeCial won that big clash, but they already played against each other earlier this tournament, and this time Elazer took a 2-0 victory. But I mean, this time it's a best of 5, Nate.
Yeah, SpeCial's had a little bit of time to prepare here and kind of see what everybody else has been up to. Let's see what he can make happen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for SpeCial versus Elazer.
Thank you very much, Nate, and it is good to be back for what could be and, well, will honestly, hopefully be a very close series, Fear Dragon. We've had a lot of 3-0s so far, but you have just absolute titans of their races in the WCS circuit series. It is just so exciting to be here for our last round of 8 match of the day, starting in the upper left-hand corner of Acid Plant in the blue. Make some noise for Elazer.
And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have our red Terran player from Mexico. He is SpeCial.
He is special, not only because he is a very solid track record, but also because he is just incredible. We were talking about the best foreign Terrans out there in the WCS circuit. Guys like Euthermal, who unfortunately had an early exit from WCS Austin. Not so for our Mexican Terran here. SpeCial is going the distance, and after a top 4 finish at WCS Leipzig, it's hard to see anything really standing in his way, but here is Elazer.
Yeah, I mean, SpeCial is oftentimes, he's like the mountain from Game of Thrones. He is the big, sturdy guy who you are just intimidated by. He doesn't have to do any special tricks or anything. He doesn't have to be super nimble or mobile. He just, I guess, bulldozes over his opponents with raw strength and in just that raw macro game. Whereas I feel like Elazer is the player who is going to be, he's usually the player that gets a little bit more aggressive, likes to maybe throw in some weird plays like Nidus Swarms, etc.
I feel like there might be some discrepancies with your comparison there, Fear Dragon, but I know what you're going for. For Elazer, I do want to see some creativity. I know he has been out, like was mentioned on the desk earlier, in that Unity house out in South Korea with SpeCial. They both, they don't sit next to each other. They're kind of at a right angle. So all I'm trying to say is maybe you peek over your shoulder, you're getting a nice taste of the builds. But let's go ahead and take a look at the way that this game is shaping up. Third hatch thrown down at the forward location, and man, every time I see a Zerg take a forward based on Acid Plant, it just puts them so much closer to their Terran opponent.
Yeah, that's nice for some aggression if he opts to go for it. The Reaper just going to be moving in for now, but I really want to see what is SpeCial going to be opening up with, because this has been a big thing for foreign Terran players and the Korean Terran players. Korean Terran players are in love with that 2-1-1 opening, whereas a lot of the foreign Terran players seem to like that 1-1-1 opening instead. So you end up getting 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport, whereas Korean Terrans like to go for 2 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport.
That's right, and of course it does telegraph a little bit of what you want to do a little bit later on. We've seen a lot of either bio or mech play, and I think for SpeCial, it will be interesting to see the way that he wants to do this. Historically, he's liked to pick one and stick to it instead of trying to change things up too much. Wow, the 1 Health Reaper. Nice to see it survive, and it'll live to heal itself up again. But that's what I was talking about. It is going to be, or that's what you were talking about, rather. It is going to be the 1-1-1 to go ahead and get the starboard up and running.
Absolutely, and this allows them to get those Hellions up. You can put in some nice pressure. It's by no means something that, you know, SpeCial or even Korean Terrans don't do. And the reason why I keep bringing up the Korean Terrans is because, again, SpeCial is in love with the way that Korean Terrans play. He's really good friends with TY, so he loves talking with him, kind of, I guess, picking his brain as well. But we got a Roach Warren and a Lair coming on up over here for Elazer.
Indeed they are. Stimnus now starting on the way, so that would telegraph maybe a more bio approach, unless it is, you know, a fake or a bait of some kind. I wouldn't expect that, but here come the first couple of Hellions. There's 3 Queens actually right out there front and center to deal with them and push them back, so you know, this is not going to be an effective place for SpeCial to get in on it. You know, we saw an earlier TVZ series where it just gets harder and harder the more times you try to get out there on the map against the Zerg player and are pushed back.
Okay, Liberator going to be coming on out. I really wonder what exactly kind of mind games are going to be going on between these two players, because these two guys did play earlier on in the event as well.
There you go. You're talking about mind games. It's a Nidus Worm on the way and a big swell of roaches to match. So we already know. Actually, you mentioned this when we were introducing our players, Clairvoyant Fear Dragon, that perhaps some of the uniqueness that could come from Elazer would be a big timing like this. And this Viking actually trying to push this Overseer away. Going to drop the Changeling just to try to keep this vision alive. The Changeling runs in and goes down before the Nidus can be dropped.
Oh man, I don't know if SpeCial just has a good sixth sense about the fact that there might be a Nidus Worm coming. Actually, the fact that all of his Hellions are still at home, he's still just hanging around with a lot of his units. I really do feel like he may have had some sort of star sense about this. But also, in their previous series, I don't believe it was broadcast on the main stage or anything, but it was Elazer versus SpeCial where Elazer took a 2-0, and the second game, Elazer also went for that big, I believe it was a Nidus Worm Hellion, if it not some sort of form of aggression, so you may have a sense about that. But here we go, Hellions now moving it across the map. Nidus Worm was never really utilized.
Oh, and on the backside, the Overlord that's trying to get into SpeCial's base for the Nidus Worm just barely makes it there. It's an Overseer, actually, and there will be the Nidus coming up, so the Hellions get across, they kill a few drones, but this Nidus is going to be the big move for Elazer if he can get it up. Those SCVs actually had a chance for a second there where they could have surrounded it and maybe blocked a few units from coming up, but they don't get there in time. The Queens come through, they've got transfused, actually not even on the Nidus Worm, on the Queens at the front, just tanking things up as the tank from SpeCial continues to rain damage down, but everything else in front of it is dying. The SCVs are falling down. More and more roaches continue to spill through the Nidus.
And the Sage Tanks are doing so much damage, but the Hellions are also killing a lot of drones on the other side of the map. They're still continuing to do damage. They've ravaged the natural, and if somehow SpeCial can hold on over here, he has a third orbital command finishing up. He can follow a lot of workers. He's killing his opponent's workers, and just being able to have delayed that Nidus Worm by an extra minute, getting out the 2 Siege Tanks, that's what's allowed him in this situation. I love this positioning for the tank on the other side of the wall in.
He's actually like using the other side of the wall as a re-wall almost against the breach in his main. And I don't think that Elazer really calculated taking this much economic damage on the other side. If you fail this Nidus attack, you can just fall back to your 3 bases, but not if you lose all your drones at the same time, because of course, you know, they don't have mules. They're going to take a long time to get back up to the economy, and there he goes right back to the third again.
Okay, he's not going to make the pit stop. Oh no, he is going to make the pit stop there. He sees all the drones. He's like, oh, you have a few more for me to roast. And while that worker count may have looked a little bit worse for SpeCial a minute ago, he's going to continue to rake in a couple more kills. 39 workers going down simultaneously.
Yeah, 7 minutes in, we're at 16 to 6 in workers. But once again, you mentioned the triple orbital is just going to be massive for SpeCial to get back on that economic to boot up its economy again.
It's the mules, Rapid. It's the mules that just allow you from those 3 orbital commands to not only get a huge amount of mineral income, but then there's also being able to produce 3 workers at a time. And the Terran player doesn't have to choose between making workers and units. Whereas Elazer, he has to make that choice right now. Am I trying to get up units to defend against a follow-up attack, or am I trying to power up my economy?
No gas at all coming in for Elazer. Finally, I believe he put 1 drone in gas right now. So he is just really struggling in his economy. He is going to have to power drones, but if you look on the production tab, it's not just drones. There's roaches and ravagers on the way as well.
Okay, another Banshee coming out from SpeCial during all this as well. I actually really like this, because when your opponent's economy is beaten and battered, just even killing off 2-3 more drones is also going to be pretty exponential damage in this kind of situation. The Banshee is just a really, really great choice. It's also nice for kind of defensive measures because Elazer went for that big attack. You have to delay out a lot of his other tech, and he's kind of, you see, stuck on roaches and ravagers.
A big push coming out from SpeCial. If you look at the army supply, it just really does tell the story. A massive force out on the map, and it's a very high-tech force as well, especially with that Banshee added in. The siege tanks, especially here on Acid Plant, just have so many little nooks and crannies they can siege up in that just requires such a large force to deal with. And as SpeCial pushes forward, I just keep trying to find a way that Elazer can hold on, and it doesn't look like there are very many.
Elazer has to play absolutely flawless StarCraft in the next minute or so. He loses a couple of drones. That's already a bit painful there. Viking even doing some harassment. He does end up losing the Viking, but here comes the main push. And those siege tanks you were talking about, that Banshee, and even just the Marines, they're all looking scary. But so far, Elazer is at least holding on.
But for how long? I mean, the tank is going to keep repositioning and just kind of stutter stepping forward. But actually, looks like SpeCial might be, oh yeah, see, that's okay. One of those little tiny nooks and crannies you can put your tanks in. How do you deal with that? There's not enough Ravagers to one-shot the tank, so that means that with the Liberators to back it up, this is just the safe haven for Marines. They're killing everything Elazer throws at him. GG, SpeCial takes game number 1.
Excellent play there from SpeCial with, and I cannot emphasize this enough, delaying that Nidus Worm Rapid is what got him that winning position in the game by just killing off the Overseer, killing off the Changeling immediately. If that Changeling survives for half a second, 2-3 more seconds longer, that game looks so different. There's not 2 siege tanks out. The Hellions are still not at home. There's so many other problems.
Right, you are, Fear Dragon. A very clutch moment right there. The game almost decided by just mere seconds. Elazer denied his Roach Ravager Nidus play, and after that, it's like, okay, well, what do you really do? He tried to come in again, and he did eventually get that Nidus up, but SpeCial then goes to the other side of his wall at the entrance to his
that
natural.
was a beautiful moment.
It's just so, I guess, just beautiful play there from SpeCial to be able to just use his base in a different way to hang on, and he does. So he takes game number 1 in this series, and you know, we were looking at past series because this has been a remarkably, I guess, what do you want to call it? Dominant, decisive. There's another word for 3 zeros. I too wish I was SpeCial. It's a pretty good state to be in. So when it comes to this tournament, it's been 3-0s and a few 3-1s, but by and large, just like Mana said in his interview, you win the first game, you're probably going to win a few more.
Yeah, that's been true for most of the games today, outside of that one True versus Lambo series. I still do think that this game can turn around. Elazer got very close to making some magic happen. We're going to see what he has planned for game number 2, since that first game did not work out in his favor.
So let's go ahead and get into it on the map. Catalyst heading up to the upper left-hand corner in the blue. It's Elazer.
And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. The last North American player in the tournament. It is our Red Terran, SpeCial.
Lots of love in the crowd for the Mexican Terran. SpeCial, of course, has just been a titan of his race in the WCS circuit, and you know, he doesn't look to be stopping. He just really, you know, crossed his T's and dotted his I's and lowercase J's, and just really knew everything that was coming his way. The early Viking out there just patrolling, and I think he's going to illustrate that just the same way here. Just very crisp play against Elazer, a player that you mentioned creative enough to go for plays like the Nidus, but will we see it again?
Yeah. I like that our wonderful observer, I don't actually know if it was Mapu or Insano for this game, but thank you very much to our wonderful observer putting on. I love actually the small little things, like building the spawning pool really far away. We've seen more Zergs do that. They don't quite, they used to build it always behind the mineral line, but I feel like we've seen a lot of Zerg players who build it a little bit further out, because it's, if you have a drop or something that comes back there, you want to have that surface area around the drop. So just building your spawning pool further out kind of allows those lings to get full surrounds and stuff. Just small little things that come into play. But I don't know, how are you feeling about this next game?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me about the spawning point.
Oh, well, how do you feel about the spawning pool? Raph?
There it is. I feel like it's in production, Fear Dragon. But about this game, it definitely has the potential to be one of our closer series, just because these players are so strong right now. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that we did get a chance to watch this play out in the group stages, where SpeCial had kind of turned the tables against Elazer, but this time Elazer coming out and looking actually very strong. So the best thing to watch out for, at least right now, is do we see a straight up game, or is this another series where Elazer wants to play it a little bit more, what's the word? Creatively. There we go.
Yeah, that's the scary thing about Elazer, is that he's not a one-trick pony. He's not a player that just says, hey, I'm always playing these weird aggressive builds. No, he has really strong macro game. That is what makes him so fearsome, is that you have to respect his crazy all-ins, his crazy aggressive attacks, but you also have to not play too safe, because he can just go into a straight-up macro game and get ahead and win off of that lead. We'll end up seeing what SpeCial's also going to be up to, as he's been able to keep that Reaper alive, scouting that third base, but he's also getting up that starport behind all of this. Oh, that's a
sick block
nice
there on the drone. Those queens are supposed to be the bodyguard for the drone.
Look at the minerals. He's up to 500 minerals. He still hasn't been able to get it down.
The sickest snipe there. KDA charge coming out and helping SpeCial's Reaper again. Just those split seconds, able to take the drone out, delay that hatchery even further. And yeah, you were talking about the mineral count there for Elazer. It just went so high because he was waiting for the hatchery that never came.
And it's almost oftentimes in those situations just the mental damage of, I just want to get this hatchery down, and even getting that down is frustrating and difficult against this guy. It just makes everything feel harder. Now we end up having the queens kind of pushing on forward. They're getting the creep spread over that third, so Elazer's doing a great job there. He's getting a good scout out and sees, okay, tech lab on the barracks. I'm not up against some sort of weird mech play. Sees the reactor on the factory, so he also knows it's just that 1-1-1 setup.
At the same time, you see that Viking coming out again for SpeCial. So valuable at stopping that Nidus play in game one. He's going to be safe against that style here, as well as just denying all vision from Elazer on that lower half of the map. So for right now, Elazer has to figure out what he wants to go to next, and it looks like it's roaches.
Okay, roaches on the way. Those are nice for dealing with a lot of the Hellion harassment, etc. But we saw a really quick swap off, honestly, earlier than a lot of Terran players, especially compared to last game, they'll do. And instead, he goes for that tech lab a bit earlier. He gets up the siege tank. The Ling tries to move in to scout stuff out, but doesn't quite spot anything.
Yep.
So he's not going to know that's going to be siege tanks coming out much faster and less Hellions coming out in the near future.
Very true, Fear Dragon. The engineering bay on the way means that that SpeCial is going to be pretty airtight against just about everything. And it's interesting to see his perspective be a little bit more defensive here, saying, okay, I gotta, make sure that I'm rock solid against all of these crazy shenanigans Elazer could throw at me. Whereas a lot of Terrans, I think Masa is a great illustration of this, as a guy that just needs to get out of the map, get damage done, and that's not the perspective that SpeCial has here.
Yeah. SpeCial, again, I feel like for years and years now been feared as a really strong macro player, and he can definitely play to that kind of strength. Absolutely, especially with Stim now getting close to finishing up, that reactor on the starport getting close to finishing up. He pokes in, tries to find bits and pieces of damage, but what he's found is usually pretty good. The one thing I want to say, though, talking a lot about how SpeCial's playing really well, Elazer does have some really nice start of the creep spread going, and that makes it harder for Terran to push in.
It certainly does. I mean, you can always try to limit that creep spread and keep it from starting further, but it's already pretty much out there, out the fourth and fifth bases that Elazer, theoretically wants to take here pretty soon. But I mentioned at the wall there is no third command center for SpeCial. This is going to be a very strong coalition heading out across the middle of the map.
And I am not so sure that Elazer is fully aware of this. He's getting up the Baneling nest. He's getting up 1-1. His lair is now just finishing up. That means he's not going to have Baneling speed for this defense. Even if he wanted it, the Baneling nest is not even done. So this is a really, really dangerous spot, but he has a couple of Ravagers. He has a lot of those Queens, and he takes out one of the tanks very early on.
Yeah, that is, of course, very, very important to limit this tank count as a very strong push comes through here from SpeCial. The Marines are parading across the map, but the focus fire on that hatchery needs to pull back and actually target some units here. The units actually pretty overstim. These Marines are taking a lot of damage, but the Ravagers being pulled back and forth and pushed away from being in range to kill the tank.
Oh, that tank at 1 one final shot off before one of the Ravagers was able to get close enough to pick it off. Now it looks like the Lings might be able to kill off that tank. It does manage to get the pick off there, but he doesn't have enough Lings over here. He doesn't even have any more Banelings. He has the Baneling that's fished up, but he just doesn't have time to make them.
A re-siege on the tank, but this time Lings are there to take it out, or will they? No! The sickest save, the tank survives. 3 health and a mule!
He's gonna repair up the tank. This is gonna give him even more sustainability. Lands the Viking, although that might not be long for this world, but SpeCial is doing so much damage here. Even just by being here, this is so frustrating for Elazer to not be able to dethrone this.
That tank shot, Fear Dragon taking out most of the Lings, are softening them up for the Marines. They are very overstimmed, but there's just nothing left for Elazer. He's running in one by one, the Zerglings that get taken out. GG, SpeCial goes up 2-0 in the series.
Wow, SpeCial is just playing out of his mind good today. That was really, really solid. Elazer is honestly also playing really well, but it just seems like SpeCial has his number.
We can just make these series best of ones. You win the first game, you're just going to win everything else.
Mana is already sitting there saying, he's out there in the crowd, he's like, I don't even know why the casters are still talking about this.
The new
it's already over.
SpeCial
won the first game.
I mean, he's going to have to dream of some electric sheep or electric build orders to get himself back into this one. And Elazer, he's like, all right, what other builds are there out? No, this one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. He's trying to dream something up, and he's going to have to turn the tide. Otherwise, SpeCial continues the, I guess, trend of 3-0s.
Oh, man, this is pretty rough. Now, the next map is going to be Dreamcatcher, which... I mean, it's not going to be necessarily the most massive map ever, but it is still a pretty decently sized map. There's some kind of interesting terrain there. Got a lot of lovely folks in the audience.
There's some interesting terrain out there in the audience, too. Yeah. You've been a great crowd here at WCS Austin. It's been great to have you to help get us through what has been very decisive games so far. And I know that because I grew up here in Texas, went to Mexico many times, I'm a little bit biased here. I've never been to Poland, but from watching Elazer play through the tournament so far, he just looked fantastic. It's hard not to like him. But then you run up against SpeCial and just get stopped in your tracks. What does Elazer need to reboot?
It's so difficult to say, because I think that last game, it looked like he wanted to kind of go into the 1-1 upgrades and kind of maybe going into Ling Bling Muta or something along those lines, but then he just got caught off guard by SpeCial making that big 2-base push that he just wasn't quite prepared for. He got really close to it, but if he can bring it out to a macro game and SpeCial does not kill him before he gets there, maybe that's the way he kind of changes the momentum of the series.
Yep, can he go the distance? We're about to find out as we get into game number 3 on Dreamcatcher. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our player in the blue in the bottom right-hand corner. Make some noise for Elazer.
And spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have our red Terran player sitting up 2-0, 1 game away from moving on to the semifinals. He is SpeCial.
A lot of love from the crowd for this guy, and incredible consistency. We mentioned top 4 BlizzCon, top 4 at WCS Leipzig, and just a very, very strong powerhouse, not only in the WCS circuit, but out in Korea, of course, qualifying for his own GSL a while back. Of course, he'll be going right back out there to try to do it again, as will many other foreign players. So it's just been a great year for SpeCial, but he has yet to really cement that WCS win.
Yeah, and not even just this year. In previous years, even when he's looked really strong, he's been in form, he's never quite been able to claim one of those major event victories. So this is looking like it might be one of his big opportunities. If he can defeat someone like Elazer, that's definitely a good sign for something versus someone like Serral, potentially in the finals, if he can also beat Mana in the semis.
I was going to say, there are many roadblocks in his way. Very consistent players, but then, of course, the kind of raid boss of Serral. Something
he is
everybody,
the endgame boss.
Yeah, everybody is thinking about this guy.
Not to count on Lambo either. He still gets a shot at Serral first.
Very true. I mean, he will have that. We'll be watching that in just a minute. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Dialing it back into our next game. 3 hatcheries already, and none of these delayed by SpeCial.
Okay. And that Reaper gonna make its way across the map and say, okay, you got your natural over here. I see a couple of lings. And he's gonna poke over to the third eventually after he pokes away at some of these lings, tries to get a snipe off here or there, and probably say, oh, damn, you already have your third down. That was pretty fast. And Elazer probably gonna be feeling pretty happy about this.
Man, look at this Reaper from SpeCial. Just an absolute ninja. Going back in, a lot of times the Reapers leave when the Queen pops out. SpeCial's going deep and trying to get some extra value. Won't find any, but he will see that the third base is up and know exactly how Elazer opened.
Okay, Reactor finishing up on SpeCial side of the map. He's just gonna go, it looks like, back into those Hellions, the standard kind of foreign Terran play.
Exact same build.
And that's going to allow him to get a bit of map control. Still interested to see when he decides to cut that Hellion production, when he decides to go into tanks or something. I mean, remember, SpeCial is 2 games up on Elazer right now. He is the player that can also mess with some things. He can try some other stuff out, maybe go into a mech stuff. I don't know how I feel about mech on a map like this, but if he decides to break it out sometime during this series, I really wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of rocks and line of sight blockers, those trees and cliffs in the middle of dream catchers, so there might be a couple of really cool places to put tanks that we haven't really seen or thought of yet here at WCS Austin, so I'm curious if that's the direction he's going to go. But instead, we're actually seeing a Raven in production right now, whether that's just to eliminate creep tumors or maybe for a slick timing with an interference matrix. I'm not sure exactly what we can expect there, but there's also Cloak on the way.
I think the Cloak is a fake out. It's a fake out to make it look like Banshees, because the Overlord comes in, sees Starpro with a tech lab, and the tech lab is researching it must be a Banshee. But that, of course, is going to be a big fake out. I believe the Overlord's going to get picked off in time as well.
It goes down 3, 2, 1.
That Raven's getting really close to finishing it. Okay, yeah, this should be fine. So Raven gets completely hidden from Elazer.
Yep, and there's the cancel on the Cloak, so it's not like it's going to be, you know, maybe for a Banshee coming out next or anything. Just starting up another Raven, and I think we were actually talking about this being just one starport where you just consistently build Ravens for a while. I think, what was it, Nathanius was mentioning that this is something that you can do, or he's seen like Terrans like Keen doing, where you just keep going Ravens after Ravens, and eventually you just build up to this critical mass.
Nathanius does love his Ravens quite a bit.
Oh boy, don't we all?
Well, we're gonna have quite a few Hellions here as well. And remember that anti-armor missile, even with the Roaches over there to help deal with the Hellions, anti-armor missiles on Roaches really drastically reduces that armor. So even things like Hellions can do not too poorly versus Roaches.
Yeah, first energy use is actually going to be for an auto turret, a high DPS there. It's going to help take out the Queen on the high ground, allow the Hellions right up top, burninating the countryside, and all those Zerglings get taken out. Now the drones. Oh, these poor drones. Lighting them up, right up the ramp, and up the drones. And now, even with those Hellions going down, terrible, terrible damage has been done.
Yeah, a lot of workers going down there. Now, SpeCial does lose all of his Hellions, and he's able to keep the Raven alive, so you gotta be a little bit careful on the defensive now that a lot of units are still out, but 1-1 upgrades on the way for Elazer. And you know what? He's still actually sitting up a little bit of supply, but that's because there's a third base about to finish up for SpeCial.
Are we just rewinding back to the days of auto turret harass from Ravens?
From Abyssal Reef days? Yeah, it kind of feels that way.
I'm trying to say that one hex buff on being able to drop your auto turrets 2 squares away. Oh my goodness.
That was the intention, so you can go back in and not have to just have your Raven suffer terrible damage as you try and get a little bit of damage done.
So what I was saying about producing Ravens just all game long, that's not what we're going to see here. And I think that was more with a mech style, so wouldn't have been totally relevant. Because we're seeing Bio, we're going to have Stim finishing up right now with 1-1 on the way, and just massive Marine production on the other side for SpeCial as he just really hits his big macro stride. Keep in mind this has been 2 bases, but now a third coming up, and so this is just going to be macro mode all the time. And here comes SpeCial back again with that auto turret harass.
Yeah, just nice little bits and pieces of damage here. Even just denying a bit of mining is nice. Killing off a few of the lings. Goes for a double auto turret as he sees so many lings there. He actually kills off a good number of them.
And it still delays mining.
Yeah, it's really, really effective. Just delaying his opponent's economy. But we have Baneling speed on the way. I don't know if it's going to finish up in time for this move out here from SpeCial. The creep spread also not quite reaching that 4th base just yet, so this is a bit of a dangerous place for Elazer, I think.
Okay, scouting Zergling, taking one for the team, and we'll see SpeCial's tiny little strike force coming over. Now, this is specifically designed to deny the fourth. Instead, actually trying to focus down that Ravager, doesn't wind up taking it out, but does get out there and start to put this pressure on the fourth.
Yeah, the Raven's just sitting there, keeping a couple of lings inside the main base. Every little bit helps. We'll see if SpeCial's going to commit a bit further forward. He doesn't have any more reinforcements coming across the map, so it is just a handful of these Marines trying to get some damage done, picking out some active creep tumors. It's always nice to find whatever damage you can get done, because behind this SpeCial has a booming economy. He has an armory going up, so he can start researching 2-2 upgrades soon, and he's looking really strong in the macro game.
I love how vigilant SpeCial is being right now. You think, hey, it's macro time, just go back to your base, you set up your camera hotkeys on all three of your bases, and you just build a lot of units, right? But no, he's also being vigilant out there on the map, forcing out this queen energy for transfuses, picking out little creep tumors here and there. But here comes the big push, right? We've seen him build a bunch of units, 1-1 is just completed, but this isn't necessarily the strongest timing, because Baneling speed is also done right in time, and Elazer has a bunch of Banelings and I think now Hydras on the way to stop this push from SpeCial.
And here's sort of the weird thing that happens on this map when there are so many different pathways. Zerg players can actually start spreading that creep along other angles. So you see the north side has a ton of creep. SpeCial has to push in from this side, because every other side you're going to be moving really deep onto creep if you actually want to get some damage done.
Now,
that does make it a bit easier for Elazer to defend.
That's true. Well, one of the things that makes it harder for Elazer to defend will be these big walls in the middle of Dreamcatcher. We were talking about it earlier, and I think it's just going to be the same right now. Nice anti-armor missile goes off onto the forces to the north. They're forced to retreat right now, as SpeCial just has such a strong entrenched position. But he's not going to overextend. Instead, he is going to pick up and look for another location to drop.
Yeah, I think the thing is he was able to, Elazer was able to take out all the siege tanks there except for one of them. But oh man, the triple drop, not gonna get scouted. Right now, Elazer thinks that he's already moved back home, so he's moving across the map to try to go on the counter.
No.
Oh, there's no Zerg recall, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be a really disastrous situation. That's so many Marines.
Yeah, now, Elazer actually makes the decision to turn around. He's going to try to funnel his entire army back into his main, which is basically as far away as you could be.
Oh, that choke point. The Lings are gonna do nothing there. Spawning pool gonna get taken out. Infestation pit also gonna be a little bit vulnerable here. Now finally the Lings are coming forward. I think the other drop was killed off, so not too many drones have gone down, but SpeCial also bought himself a lot of time. Oh my god, there's not one Marine killing off drones.
And he's gonna redrop at the third base, right?
Oh, yeah. That positioning is so brutal.
And the distance by ground to wrap from the main to the third base is just so long. It reminds me a little bit of 16-bit trying to get from the back natural to the fourth. He's just going to keep redropping, or at least he could. But finally, Elazer has pulled all the way back and stabilized, but at what cost, right? This gives SpeCial the opportunity to take a totally safe fourth base and start to get stuck in up there at the 12 o'clock.
Oh, poor SpeCial has to take out his own sensor tower to open up the pathway there for those units. But it's still going to be a lot of units coming across the map. One Raven does go down. Could still use those for anti-armor missiles to join forces with the 16 Marines he's looking to drop. But seems like Elazer is, for the most part, on top of it. Auto turret's going to come down to kill off a couple of drones, as well as those Hydras. And the rest of the army's moving on the left, while the big Ling counterattack on the north side. Whoa! The burrowed Banelings catching SpeCial by surprise.
I didn't even see those. Oh my god, perfect positioning, and that's a big move for Elazer. He completely stymies that push out there on the map, takes it out, and now he's actually going to get a big connection in the main.
Oh, SpeCial so close to dodging out and focus firing down that last Baneling, but just barely. Elazer sneaks it in, takes care of a majority of that force, and in an instant, Elazer turns his game back around in his favor.
Wow, just a game of seconds. This is electrifying, and what a game to have it in, right? Elazer knows his back is up against the wall, also against his chair, but the wall as well. And so he has to win here, or else he's totally out of the tournament. For SpeCial, he knows he can smell victory, one win ahead of him, but he has to get there, and it's just a little bit difficult when you run on top of Banelings.
Yeah, and while those drops were doing a lot of damage for SpeCial, he didn't get the chance to snipe out the
no.
idle drones there.
My eyes!
Elazer a little bit preoccupied with so many things going on the map, including this engagement here. Lings getting picked off one by one. There's not too many Banelings here. In fact, one or two of them even getting caught up in that army, but it seems that the Hydras are going to survive. And at the same time, Elazer defends back at home without losing too much.
Does lose a few drones, more than that, just lost mining time. Okay, finally the drones are back mining. Man, that was giving me a little bit of an aneurysm, but they get back to work. And things are actually not that far apart, right? The supply is relatively even. The banks have not built up to critical mass for either player. Their army size is pretty even, but okay, he pre-scans, so they just run across banelings right here.
Yeah, I think the big scary thing right now is the fact that Elazer was going up to Hive Tech and might have Ultras or Broodlords on the horizon, but Marauder production has already begun for SpeCial. I think he smells that was going to be a potential. A nice wraparound from those legs, catching so much of this bio there. Elazer's going to be happy with that, but he's not going to be happy about this.
No, the unprotected drone line somehow, SpeCial just finds the scalpel to make that surgical strike in, take out 12 drones and the base.
Losing the base is a bit rough, but Elazer also has a top right-hand base that he had going up. He also has 76 workers, now going back up to 82.
Oh my
in a
God.
moment's time.
And he's not done. Back at it again with these main drop shenanigans. He's going right back in there, down bottom and up top. A nice fungal comes through, but the banelings evaporate before they hit the Marines.
Yeah, so close to getting some juicy baneling connections there. But SpeCial's finally getting an opportunity to start cleaning up some of that crease right on the right-hand side. Can we get a vision check? Does SpeCial know about that top right-hand base? I think that he's... Oh, he does not know that the gold base has been taken yet.
Oh,
So
wow.
if he knew about that, that's so exploitable. We drop and harass on the south side and the north at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like he just pushes over because his base is so close right there, but he doesn't know about it at all. Nice scan to take out more burrowed banelings.
Yeah, doesn't want to fall prey to that one again. And knows that it is also a nice thing for Elazer now, even if he doesn't have burrowed banelings, you got to be a little wary even off of creep. Okay, I got to scan here and there, make sure there's nothing I'm walking into. Fungal Growth catches a couple of the Marines, but it seems like Elazer's going to be the one on the retreat here.
Elazer's going to lose his entire army right there. Or he could if he can't get back home in time. Okay, trying to drag him over the burrowed banelings.
Portion of his army definitely going down a bit there, but the Vipers are now here. Siege Tanks have to be very careful. The scan does reveal them, so the ducks over the cliff is going to obliterate those.
Yeah, it takes them out immediately. The Viper's out just in time, but this is still a very big bio ball for SpeCial pushing forward. He has 2 tanks behind it and is targeting down that 6 o'clock base. This is going to be very hard for Elazer to engage, and he's counterattacking at the same time.
But it doesn't, I don't know if this is going to be that successful. It looks like all the banelings have been evaporated. The Hydras get taken out, and SpeCial is poking forward. Once again, there's no banelings in this army. The Vipers finally threw down the Blinding Clouds, but it's at the end of the engagement, and the bio steps forward to take out the hatchery.
Oh, Fear Dragon, this just could be it. This is going to be Elazer's chance to stop SpeCial's army, but at what cost? He's lost 2 bases down south, and he can't even take out SpeCial's forces.
Oh, the Marauder count, plus no kindness plating on these Ultras. It's so close to finishing, but Elazer ends up losing one of the Ultras and half the health on another, and finally he scans and sees, oh, you've had this gold base.
He's like, why are you still in this game? Oh, you've been getting all this gold-based minerals. And immediately, as soon as that scan goes down, SpeCial is right up there sending Liberators to stop this gold base from mining.
Yeah.
No, you cannot mine here. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 minerals. SpeCial's about to collect another win on to the round of 4.
But look at this, as the Hydras start moving up to the north side, we have, of course, the rest of the bio moving to the south side. And those are some really juicy Blinding Clouds, catching a lot of that bio. But unfortunately, the Ultras just cannot stand up on their own.
Even with kindness plating, it's not done in time. And oh my God, this is just looking stronger and stronger for SpeCial. An Infestor comes forward, but it's not for Fungal. It throws out a couple of Infested Terrans that die immediately. The drones get taken out as they head back, and all of Elazer's army's falling down.
Even a SpeCial army depletes. SpeCial
GG 3-0. SpeCial eliminates Elazer and advances on to his second WCS top 4.
Amazing performance there from SpeCial. It just felt like even in the times in that last game, Elazer was looking good at certain points, but SpeCial was always able to bring it back. A 3-0, and those first 2 games as well, SpeCial looks so strong. I really do think he has a good shot at making possibly the deepest run in a tournament that he's ever made so far.
Let's head on stage and find out what SpeCial has to say about his 3-0 win.
Indeed, thank you very much, Rapid. Congratulations, SpeCial, as the only NA player left at this event here in Austin. You secure your 3rd semifinal of the year, and especially to do so against such a strong player like Elazer. How satisfying is that?
I'm pretty happy that I won. I was having my doubts because I lost yesterday, 2 days ago. But I just felt that if I play better, then that day I will be able to win, and I play better, so I win.
Indeed, you did play better because, as you just mentioned, in the group stage, it was a 2-0 loss to Elazer back then. And in 2 days, you not only played better, elaborate. How were you able to do that? A 3-0 is not just an easy win.
I think I'm personally better when I know who my opponent is, and so I can prepare. So that's why sometimes I have problems in groups that are in events like this that you have to play like right away. I have problems because I didn't know he was gonna be in my group, for example. But I don't know. After I knew he was gonna be like in the stage, like in the playoff bracket, and I know I was gonna play him, I can prepare, so I'm better in those situations.
And with you and Elazer both having practiced a lot in Korea, does that make it a little bit harder to play against him just because, you might know each other's styles better?
Not really, because I can play anything. He knows that. So I always very conservative with people who I practice. I don't practice with like everyone. I play with only some friends. So he knows that I can play everything. So I don't think it was that complicated for him or for me.
Well, now you're just one win away from making it to the grand finals here in Austin in front of all of these fans. The dark horse of this entire event, Mana, stands in your way. I think he's surprised and impressed quite a few people. What are your thoughts on his resurgence here?
I think it's pretty crazy that that he beat Neve and then he beat Snoot, and now he's semifinal, so it's gonna be hard.
All right, it's gonna be hard. We'll find out indeed. Congratulations again in that semifinal match. We'll see how he does. Let's head back to the desk with the boys.
Thank you very much, Sue. SpeCial with an amazing performance. Another 3-0. His build, his positioning, this micro, so sweet, so sexy to be able to take this match in such a stunning fashion, gentlemen.
Nothing gets me more excited than some very clean, crisp Terran play, and SpeCial showed it there. It was the little maneuvers, sniping off creep tumors here and there. The siege tank pushes throughout were pristine. I mean, on Dreamcatcher at the end, obviously there's like some beautiful positions, but it started off the series with Catalyst as well. That siege tank push that could not be broken by Elazer, and it felt like SpeCial was, he was all over him. Very clean series, not much more to be said.
Yeah, really impressive that he can turn it around that fast, losing 2-0. And I like the way he said it before. He's like, yeah, I don't believe in luck. I think he just played better, but next time I'm going to play better. And SpeCial obviously played fantastic. I think Asset Plant was really impressive because we all know what kind of a panic moment it is when that Nidus goes off, all the queens in the road just start running into your main. But I loved it. He never gave up on his harass on the other side. He's like, yeah, I'm going to lose a crazy amount of SCVs, but you're going to lose a lot of drones. And that's exactly what he did with those Hellions, the Liberator as well. And then I really love that one move where he sneaked that final siege tank to the low ground, and then he raised his depots, and he's like, ha, try reaching me now, roaches and queens. And it was a really good move. And obviously, I thought actually a pick on Catalyst. I really felt at one point that Elazer was doing an okay job in kind of surviving and hanging in there. Like, obviously, you have to take the fight at first, but then the Marines were starting to run quite low on HP. It was just a single tank, and yet SpeCial somehow gets it done and somehow gets the W immediately right afterwards.
Yeah, it was a bit of a moment there where there's so much pressure, of course. We all know what it's like as a Zerg to kind of have your rally points and the Terran pressing between them, but sometimes patience is the virtue you need there, right? The ability to pull back on both sides, and that third base is producing. You can reinforce units to actually flank, cut off the reinforcements, or even hit those siege tanks from behind. So I think definitely maybe with a little bit more patience, Elazer could have hung on there, but SpeCial was so good at every time the Ravagers came forward. His Marines would go forward, he'd kind of push back the Queens, push back the Ravagers, and he created a lot of threat in between the rally points.
And we have the bracket updated after that match. And, this brings us to an interesting position, I think, for SpeCial, because Mana, the spoiler of this tournament so far, has defeated 2 of the players that have really been getting in SpeCial's way. Most notably Neeb, but I believe he also had a pretty rough match against Snoot last year in the one tournament where he didn't have to play against Neeb.
That was Valencia. No, it was the one tournament where he finally beat Neeb, actually.
Yeah.
And then Snoot is like, thank you so much, SpeCial. Now I'm going to take it from here, and I'm going to move on to the grand final. So yeah, you're spot on there. Snoot destroyed that little party. It's a fun top 4, man. This is not a top 4 that a lot of people predicted. I see the pro gamers on Twitter as well. It's like, wow, finally some new faces. We've got Lambo in the top 4. We've got Mana, SpeCial, and Zero. That's not too much of a surprise, but let's see if the underdogs can get it down against the favorites.
Yeah, I hope we're going to have some good matches because, I mean, things have just been so intense and surprising with the results. But now, Mana, I think, you know, in PvT, it's a crazy matchup against SpeCial. You know, the upper side of the bracket, of course, is going to be a long shot. But for me, I'm looking towards the grand finals. I think that's going to be so exciting. The favorites will probably be SpeCial and SpeCial. But whichever way it goes, we're going to have an action-packed match.
Yeah, that does set us up for our first semifinal that we're going to be getting into, which will be SpeCial versus Lambo, a ZvZ semifinal number 1 coming up. SpeCial is the player to beat in this tournament. Does he do it 3-0?
David versus Goliath would be perhaps an understatement for this one, but the one thing that you can say for Lambo is that obviously this is already better than I think he could have even dreamed of. I think he looked at this tournament as like quarterfinals would be awesome. Now he's in the semis, so obviously nothing to lose, everything to win. There's way more pressure here on SpeCial. Now, we know that he's probably capable of dealing with that, but everyone is expecting SpeCial to win, maybe even 3-0. So, you know, for Lambo, it's just like, all right, here we go, one shot.
Yeah, I mean, he played the last Zerg versus Zerg so well. He came out with very clever builds, crisp builds, a couple of mind games. I'm not sure if it's going to work out the same way. Of course, you know, SpeCial's so good at scouting. He's got the map pack Zerglings everywhere. But either way, you know, it's kind of that underdog story. And whoever makes it through the finals obviously has to play against a Terran or a Protoss. So definitely no mirror match in the finals, no matter what.
Would certainly be one of the sickest upsets we've ever seen in WCS if Lambo was able to make it happen. That and more coming after this short break. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the World Championship Series.